Picture this: Marseille, France, 1720. The bubonic plague is consuming the city like wildfire. Bodies pile in the streets faster than gravediggers can bury them. The living barricade themselves behind locked doors, praying death will pass them by. Yet in this nightmare landscape, 4 figures move freely through the infected districts. They rob corpses with impunity, strip homes of their valuables, and somehow never fall sick. The authorities are baffled. How can these thieves walk among the dead and dying without contracting the plague that kills 9 out of 10 victims? When they're finally captured, the judge offers them a deal: reveal your secret and we'll spare your lives. What they confess becomes one of medicine's most enduring mysteries. They claim to have created a special vinegar, a blend of herbs and spices that, when applied to their bodies, makes them immune to the plague. The recipe they provide sounds almost too simple to be true, yet something about their story refuses to die, even 3 centuries later. But here's where the legend gets complicated. Some say there were only 4 thieves. Others claim it was an entire family of spice merchants who knew ancient secrets. A few historians insist the whole story is fabricated, created by clever marketers selling snake oil to desperate plague victims. The truth might be stranger than any of these versions. Let's start with what we know for certain. The plague of 1720 was real, and it was devastating. It arrived in Marseille aboard a merchant ship called the Grand Saint-Antoine. Despite quarantine efforts, the disease spread rapidly through the port city and beyond. Within 3 years, it killed over 100,000 people across southeastern France. During this chaos, grave robbing became rampant. Desperate people stripped valuables from plague victims, often contracting the disease themselves in the process. Most died within days. Yet witnesses consistently reported seeing certain individuals who seemed mysteriously protected. The earliest written account of the 4 thieves appears in court records from 1720. 4 men are arrested for robbing plague victims. When questioned, they claim to possess a secret formula that protects them from infection. The judge, intrigued by their apparent immunity, agrees to commute their death sentences in exchange for the recipe. According to this account, the thieves were spice merchants who had lost their legitimate business to the plague. Facing starvation, they turned to robbery but used their knowledge of herbs to create a protective coating. The formula they revealed contained garlic, rosemary, thyme, sage, camphor, and strong vinegar. But this is where the story fractures into competing versions. A 1748 publication claims the thieves were actually members of a single family who had been perfumers and spice dealers for generations. They supposedly inherited the recipe from ancestors who survived the Black Death centuries earlier. Another version, popularized in the 1800s, insists there were more than 4 thieves. This account describes an entire network of immune grave robbers who shared their secret formula only among themselves. According to this telling, the recipe was far more complex, involving dozens of rare herbs and a specific preparation ritual. Then there's the skeptical perspective. Some historians argue the entire story is a fabrication, created by opportunistic merchants looking to profit from plague fears. They point out that the earliest documented recipes for 4 Thieves vinegar don't appear until decades after the supposed arrests. The timing, they suggest, is suspicious. Yet the legend persisted and evolved. By the 1800s, 4 Thieves vinegar was being sold across Europe and America as a cure-all remedy. Different regions developed their own variations of the recipe. Some added wormwood or rue, others included exotic spices like cinnamon and cloves. A few versions even called for crushed pearls or gold dust. What makes this story particularly intriguing is that modern science suggests some of the ingredients might actually have protective properties. Garlic contains allicin, a compound with antimicrobial effects. Essential oils from rosemary, thyme, and sage have been shown to possess antibacterial properties. Camphor acts as an insect repellent, potentially useful against plague-carrying fleas. But here's the unsettling part. Nobody has ever successfully recreated the original formula. Despite hundreds of attempts over the centuries, no modern version of Four Thieves vinegar has demonstrated significant protective effects against serious diseases. Either the original recipe contained ingredients we don't know about, or the preparation method was more complex than the surviving accounts suggest. Some researchers believe the secret lies not in the ingredients themselves, but in how they were combined and applied. Medieval alchemical texts describe elaborate processes for creating medicinal preparations involving specific temperatures, timing, and even astrological considerations. Perhaps the thieves knew something about preparation that was lost when they died. There's another possibility that few people want to consider. Maybe the thieves were simply lucky. Plague immunity can occur naturally in some individuals due to genetic factors. The four men might have possessed natural resistance and attributed their survival to their homemade remedy. Their story then grew in the telling, becoming more elaborate with each retelling. But this explanation doesn't account for the numerous historical reports of people successfully using Four Thieves vinegar during later plague outbreaks. Throughout the 1800s, newspapers regularly featured testimonials from people who claimed the remedy saved their lives during cholera epidemics and other disease outbreaks. Dr. Jean Valnet, a French physician who studied traditional remedies in the mid-1900s, became convinced that Four Thieves vinegar contained genuine medical value. He spent decades trying to recreate the original formula, testing various combinations on laboratory cultures. His research suggested that certain herbal combinations in vinegar could indeed inhibit bacterial growth, but he never achieved the dramatic protective effects described in historical accounts. The mystery deepens when you consider the cultural context. Medieval France was a hotbed of alchemical knowledge, much of it inherited from Arabic and Byzantine sources. Spice merchants would have had access to rare ingredients and ancient preparation techniques that are completely unknown today. Some of these methods might have created chemical compounds that we haven't yet learned to synthesize. There's also the question of what happened to the original thieves. Court records show they were released after providing their recipe, but they disappear from historical documentation immediately afterward. Did they flee the city? Were they quietly executed despite the judge's promise? Or did they continue their activities under different identities? A few tantalizing clues suggest the story might have continued beyond 1720. Parish records from nearby towns mention mysterious deaths of suspected grave robbers during subsequent plague outbreaks. Some of these accounts describe robbers who seemed initially immune but eventually succumbed to the disease, as if their protection had somehow worn off. Modern attempts to solve the mystery have taken unexpected turns. In 2019, a team of French historians claimed to have discovered a previously unknown manuscript containing a more detailed version of the Four Thieves recipe. The document, allegedly found in the archives of a defunct monastery, included ingredients not mentioned in any previous accounts: mercury, antimony, and something described only as the tears of the Virgin. But when independent researchers tried to verify the manuscript's authenticity, they encountered a problem. The monastery's archives had been destroyed in a fire decades earlier. The historians who claimed to have found the document couldn't explain how they had accessed records that no longer existed. The manuscript itself has since vanished, leaving behind only photocopies that experts say could easily be forgeries. This brings us to perhaps the most disturbing aspect of the Four Thieves legend. It refuses to stay in the past. Every few years, someone claims to have rediscovered the true recipe. These modern versions appear on internet forums, in alternative medicine books, and even in academic papers. Yet none of them match the historical descriptions exactly, and none have demonstrated the miraculous protective effects attributed to the original. The question remains, were the Four Thieves real, or are they simply a persistent myth that fills our need to believe in impossible solutions to terrible problems? Perhaps the answer doesn't matter. The legend itself has become a kind of protective charm, offering hope that somewhere, somehow, there might be a simple remedy for our most feared diseases. But next time you see someone selling Four Thieves vinegar at a farmer's market or health food store, remember this: if the original recipe was real, It died with its creators 3 centuries ago. What you're buying is just an echo of a mystery that continues to haunt the borderland between history and legend.